Good day everyone, Garage King here, and today we are going to do the... Wait a minute, why is there a sleeping bag underneath my Vanagon? Okay, don't worry, we're not sleeping underneath the Vanagon. This is just to make it more comfortable. Today we are going to do the radius rod bushings, or some people call them the radius arm bushings. And you know, I want to do the cleanup outside. Now make sure you wear eye protection, ear protection, and make sure you wear a mask because it is dusty, and that was the whole reason for me not wanting to do this in the garage, just to get it nicely cleaned up. We're going to pan in here, take a better look at the radius rod or radius arm bushing, and you can see there, it obviously needed to be replaced.
So here's an exploded view of the front end, and we can see all our torque specs. Now take note, this is 84 and onward, so I know the older ones, they bolt, and the newer ones, they just thread. Now I was actually surprised at the strut bar here. It's 133 foot-pounds for tightening it up, and it just threads right into the lower control arm, so that goes pretty tight. Anyway, and then the nuts are 74 pounds each, or foot-pounds each of torque, or 100 Newton meters. Now, how do we get this thing out? Well, if we go here in the manual, all we're going to do is we're just going to measure the threads, and then we're going to take it apart. And I'm going to show you a little trick because everyone fights too much when they take them apart. I'm going to show you how to get it apart fairly easy. All right, so we're going to measure the threads right here. So we're going to start right here, and I'm going to do it in millimeters so I can get the most accurate measurement. I'm going to butt up right there against the nut.
So I measured mine, and mine were about 95 millimeters on one side. I think it was 98 on the other side. And the only reason I'm showing you this, the threaded portion from the top of the nut to where the threads end, is just because if you forget to, yours are probably very similar to mine. So that's why I wanted to show this part.
Now you can take a 27 mil wrench. I don't have a 27 millimeter wrench, so I'm just going to use a 1 1/16, which is pretty much the same. And as you can see, it's quite tight on there, so that's good. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to loosen up these now. You can see I've put a little bit of anti-seize on there, or not anti-seize, a little bit of WD-40. So let's see if we can loosen them up. Actually wasn't too bad.
So now I'm going to speed things up as to not waste time. So we got to get this nut off, and you can see why cleaning it up was so important. It just makes it that much easier.
And there we go.
So now that this side is done, let's pan over and let's do the other side. So with the nut off, we can just pull the bushing out, and you can see all that rust just coming out just like that. Now I want you to take a close look at the sleeve. I'm going to zoom in here. Make sure you get a new sleeve because your sleeve is probably going to be shot.
Now, this piece here, I'm really having a tough time getting it out, and you're never supposed to heat front-end suspension with the torch. So let's slide under here, and if you spray the back side of it, right here, you'll see, I guess it might help, but there's no threads on there on the back side. The threads are actually showing on the inside. There you go, right there. So there is the thread. So I'm just gonna soak that part.
And you know what? It didn't work. So what I did is I bought some wrench extenders from Mueller-Kueps. You can get them on Amazon. I'll leave the links below, and they were a lifesaver. This little one, super handy. You know, I think it'll be great in definitely smaller jobs, but I thought maybe I would be able to squish this wrench in this little one, but I just couldn't. Like, it won't. I'm trying to do this one-handed, everyone. See, it won't fit. I can't lay it down in there, so it won't fit. So I did buy the big one, and obviously the wrench just slips in there like nothing. Now, the good thing with the big one is it's actually got a 3/4 drive on the end opposed to the half drive on the smaller one. This is a 745 102. Now, the nice thing about this one is I can actually put a 1/2-inch breaker bar in here, and it'll hold it. You can see, it'll just hold it like nothing. So yeah, this one you got to be careful with because you can strip some threads pretty easy. It's just huge. And I did buy this little one here from KTOOL just to show you. You can see it's not even marred up. I never even used this little one because I like this one much better. But anyway, it will hold the wrench. So if you're doing your Vanagon and it's really tight and you want to save money, you know, you don't want to buy one of these bigger ones, you can get this one here, and it does work. Like you can see here. There you go, my wrench did slip in. Now, I don't know how much torque this KTOOL thing will take, but it did slip in there, so it does work. So just to let you know. All right, on with the show. Let's keep going, guys. So here's one of the tricks to getting it out, and that is making your suspension level. So you saw how I jacked it up there, and then I leveled everything out. So that is what you want to do, and it actually made it fairly easy. You can see here, I'm just pulling it out, just like that. And then now we'll just do an inspection, and we got to take a look at the threads because they can wind up getting damaged over time. And you see here, the sleeve is actually worn right through from rust, and I guess probably from bouncing around. So anyway, we're gonna have to take care of that. So now I'm just gonna take a scraper, get off all of the excess rust, and then we're gonna treat it. So panning into the radius arm bushing hole, if you wanna call it that, you can see I've cleaned it all up right there, but the problem is it's bare steel, so I know it's gonna rust, so I'm just gonna put some POR 15 on there just to prevent, rust, make it last a little bit longer if I can. Here's the new bushing, and I was worried the holes were gonna be elongated, but when I go here to put the bushing in, they actually fit pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm just gonna paint them up, and then we'll assemble everything. Oh, and lastly, I was going to say, you can see the original color of my van was gold, and it's obviously not gold anymore. So here you can see we have the control arm, just like this, and look at those threads. Tried with the wire wheel to clean it up. That's not gonna work, and obviously the nut's only gonna go so far before it hits the threads. Now we're gonna put it back the same place we put it before, so it shouldn't really be an issue, but I still don't wanna put it back together like this. So what I did buy, metric 18, this die metric 18 by 1.5, so we're just gonna clean up the threads. Now I don't know if it was really necessary because it will sit in the same position, and the nuts did fit the way they fit before. They're probably gonna go back the same way, but I don't know, it's just, I didn't wanna put it back together that way. So anyway, that's just me. All right, so it's finally time to reassemble this thing. So how are we gonna reassemble it? You can see I have it painted really nice, except obviously I didn't paint the threads because I don't want to interfere with anything there. So I have my, I guess, inner bushing, if you want to call it that, or the lower one. Now remember, when you put these things on, the disc sort of faces in, so it looks like they're sloped outward like this. So this is how you have to put them on. So you put them on like that. The cone shape for the inside, this is the soft one. It has no steel anywhere on it. That's going to go down like this. And you remember, the flat side always has to hit the vehicle. So that's how I remember them. And that's it, 133. Okay, now I know you're probably saying, Garage King, what the heck are you doing? You're leaving us all hanging. You didn't show us, actually threading the rod in. So I won't leave you hanging. So I'm going to show you how it's done, and I'll show you my trick. We're just gonna come through the hole here, if I can sort of hold both the camera and stuff here like this. There we go. And we can see there we have almost enough room. We're just a little bit shy right there. I wonder if I can even just push it over with my leg. There we go. Just give it a little push. That's all it took. So now this part can thread in just like that. Now if we look underneath, if we look right here, we can see it's right there, but it's not centered there. There's a bit of a gap right there. How do we get this in? Well, you know what? All we got to do is jack it up, and that will line it up. So I'm going to get a jack, and you're going to see it's all going to come into alignment right now because it's not going to want to go in like that. And you can see there it is right there. So that's kind of a good protection thing, this thing here, just to make sure you don't cross thread those, because once we cross thread those, that's it for this whole arm. So take your time and jack it up carefully, reposition if you have to, really take your time. Don't put yourself in any type of danger for this, but the straighter, the better. That's the way to do this. So the more level you can get the suspension, the better it's gonna work. I think I caught a thread right there. And yes, I did. So yahoo for that. So this is great. So now we can just twist it in with the ratchet, because I've seen people do all kinds of crazy things to get these things in, and it's not that hard. You can see that's what I was using just to snug it up there. I just had a regular ratchet on there, and that is snug. So now we're gonna get our torque wrench. Now, if you're wondering how this bushing magically appeared here, it's just I'm just using it for protection for the threads while I'm tightening it, just so they don't rub against the Vanagon's body and flatten out a bit. So that's the only reason that's there. And there you go. You can see we are all torqued up. So time to assemble everything, and you can see I got these stainless steel sleeves from Go Westy, so definitely an upgrade from the factory steel ones, and they should never rust out, so that's good. But I'm gonna put some grease here anyway, and this isn't really for the stainless steel. This is for the factory rod, just to protect it from future rust. So let's get this together now, and you'll see from underneath, I gotta lift it up just like so, and line it up. Now, don't be overconfident or really quick to think that, you know, you got it in straight right away, because it does take a little bit of finessing. You can see here, I'm lifting it up and twisting it to make sure that front bushing is properly seated. Now, obviously the sleeve is gone through. I know that 100%, but the bushing, I want to make sure that it has gone through, because I don't want to have any binding when I tighten it up. And here you can see, here's the washer, and the curved side goes out, so it's curved away from the bushing. And there's a bit better angle. You can see the steel part here from the outside washer is still a little bit out. So you just want to make sure when you're tightening it in that this steel piece doesn't bind and it actually goes in. So that's very, very important. And then here you can see on the other side, I have this, I can even pull this back right here. And then you can see there's the sleeve right there. Okay, so one of the final steps is to set the caster. Now, if you remember from the beginning of the video, we just measured how much threads was showing, and mine I measured from the top of the nut. So I remember my measurements. Hopefully you remember your measurements. And then once you got things snugged up, make sure to do a second check just to make sure before you torque things down. You can see here, I just moved it a little bit. I just want to get mine exact or as close to, you know, how it was before. So don't be afraid to do that. And then once you're satisfied with that, I found it was a lot easier just to use a regular ratchet and just a wrench to tighten it down as much as I could tighten it down before going to the torque wrench. And remember, the torque is 74 foot-pounds. That's what you have to tighten this nut down to. You can see it's, I actually need a deeper socket, but this one's still got enough. If I keep it straight, it should hold, because I know we're not twisting much. Almost. There we go, just like that. And that's it. Video is over, everyone. If you want to see more, you got to come back next week to see another video. So hopefully you subscribe, like this video. I made it fairly short, as short as I could, just over 12 minutes for radius arm bushings. I think that's pretty decent, and I think it was thorough. If you have any questions, please leave them below. That's it for now. Garage King over and out, and I hope to see you next week.